Now here's the incredibly profound truth that this text demands that we believe. It's this: the greatest good is God sovereignly revealing his power and the glory of his name. That's the greatest good. The greatest good is not Egypt's deliverance, Egypt's comfort. The greatest good is the glory of God revealed to all. That God is God, and there is no other. That God will have mercy on whom he has mercy, and he will have compassion on whom he has compassion. And he always operates justly. That knowledge is the greatest good for us to understand. Now, there's so many different ways to answer, how is this fair? And I was tempted in my own heart to go through all of the various answers that pastors have given. Men like Spurgeon have answered this question very well. When he says, the same sun that hardens the clay melts the wax. God didn't change. God didn't act in a duplicitous way. He didn't act in a sinful way to change something in Pharaoh. He just acted, and Pharaoh's heart got revealed. Absolutely true. Or we could go back into theologians' circles and we can understand depravity, and we can look back, even in the context of Romans, we can go back to chapter 3, we can go into chapter 5, we can see that all were in Adam and all were condemned anyway, so that God is able to act this way because all were corrupt. But those are our little answers to try to answer the question. We'll just take God's answer. He is God. There is no other. And he can act according to the riches, the glories of his name. And the question is this: who are us? Who are any of us to find fault in God? By the way, that's the very next question that Paul asked then. You will say to me then, why does God still find fault? If God could do whatever he wants, if he can harden one, if he can harden Pharaoh, and he bring judgment upon Pharaoh, then how can he find any fault in Pharaoh? How can he find fault in any of us? Who can resist his will? Verse 19. And we will answer that next week. That is the very next question. But let me say this to you just in closing, the moment we have left. God is fair in all of his dealings, and no one is left out of eternity because they wanted God, but he just wouldn't let them in. No one is left out because they wanted to believe, they desired to believe, they were willing to give God exactly what he wanted. He just turned on them. Certainly that wasn't Pharaoh there. Pharaoh heard the message of God and rejected it. Pharaoh heard God's command, was given it multiple times, was reminded by miraculous signs multiple times of the power of God. Pharaoh every time rejected it. No one is turned away from God because they wanted him and he wouldn't accept them. No, they turn from God because they don't want him at all, because they don't believe. So if you want mercy and compassion from God, turn to him and believe and be saved, which is exactly what he said through the prophet Isaiah. Turn to God and be saved. You don't run from the sovereign God in fear. You run to the sovereign God in faith and believe in the greatness of his name.